Now, you shared this, Tom, which is madness. Warner Brothers to return to Super Bowl after 17-year absence with the Flash promo. Now, they pay
Good
on
money
average
after bad. Yeah.
$7 million.
It's huge.
For a Super Bowl advert. That's like the average. You can pay substantially.
That's a fucking movie. You could make a movie for that much.
And the thing is, I think what's funny about this is the studio will premiere the trailer days later in front of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So they're going to chuck it in front of a film that they genuinely think is like a, I don't know, like a cross competitor to them. No one wants to watch Ezra Miller. He's a groomer. He's allegedly, right? Like no one wants. Everyone wanted to watch the likes of Michael Keaton come back. Like, there's no reason to watch it now because he's back, but then he's gone again anyway. So who cares? What the fuck, Tom? I'm sure you got a rant prepared for this. Over to you.
Well, look, I understand now why they kind of stopped talks of reshooting anything. Like, it makes, things are starting to make more sense why they just kind of put things on the back burner till Gunn decided what he was doing. But spending this kind of money on promoting a film that most people know is going to be going nowhere is pointless. I mean, I understand, like, because there's a lot of people who are like, why didn't they just shelve this shit and blah, blah, blah. Like, look, I understand. They're probably contractually obligated in several different avenues to where they have to release this film theatrically. That's, as far as I can tell, the only reason this and Aquaman 2 and Shazam and whatnot all got theatrical releases. Because as we remembered, during COVID, Scarlett Johansson tried to sue Disney, and you had Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins get a nice payday out from Warner Brothers for these very reasons. So I'm sure they don't want to have to deal with any of that. They're better, because that's the thing is, if they put these movies out and they fail, they don't have to pay shit, right? Yeah, they'll lose some money on the back end, but they ain't gonna have to pay out anything to anybody else, and nobody can say, "Oh, I was out this much money," like Gal Gadot or Patty Jenkins did. And you also have other kind of things they're signed up for too, like promotions and other deals. Because remember, there was a big hooskow about Wonder Woman getting pushed back because they had Dorito bags and shit ready for her. They're like, these things ain't gonna keep. We got to put this shit out. It's going to come. So in July, we had bags with Wonder Woman on it, even though the movie didn't come out till December, because they're like, this shit's going to expire. We got to get it out. So you have those kind of promotions and deals. You have product placement deals that are also in place. There's all sorts of things. And that was kind of the gist of what I got was this, and those bigger films they had to release, or they probably would have shelved some of them. This probably would have been one of them. That's the other thing. They have spent so much money on this movie. The rumor is it's almost as expensive as Avatar at this point, because I've heard anywhere from 300 to anywhere between the 300 and $500 million range has been spent on this movie already. So again, it'll be a tax write-off at the end of the year if they lose money on it. I don't know why they're spending good money after bad at this point. I could see doing standard ads, but why spend the money on a Super Bowl ad? If you're Warner Brothers, if you're going to do a Super Bowl ad, there's got to be something else that you're coming up with in the next year that you would rather spend the money on. Fuck. So I just soon see him do an Aquaman trailer. That would make more sense.
So my thinking
financially
is they have spent so much money on this, right? And they know that they don't have the fans' money, right? Logic dictates normally.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Money. No. So listen. So this makes sense actually when you're looking at it from that perspective. They know they don't have the fans' money at this point, so they have to try and get as many normies on board as possible who are way outside of the sphere of film news and know anything about Ezra Miller. So they're thinking, right, $7 million.
All right, I see what you're saying now, but yeah.
That's what I mean. That's the only way I can think that this makes sense to them, is that they're trying because to get the normies' money.
That's like the least amount of crossover is probably the sports audience. Yeah, you're probably right in that respect.
Yeah. Otherwise, why would you do it? because yeah, you're right. Like
The amount of money you
$10 million on
spent on
this.
the Super Bowl ad, though, you could have blitzed a dozen other games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just
To
ridiculous.
use a football
It's
term.
it's absolutely ridiculous. So there's that part, and then the the thing which runs kind of contrary to that I'm to that as the reason behind them doing the Super Bowl thing is that they say um, they're going to be putting this trailer in front of Marvel Studios Ant-Man and the Wasp in theaters, apparently. So they're like, you sit down to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, you're going to see this trailer.
Yeah, it's
That
some kind of deal. I don't know if the studios pay for it actually, or if it's just a handshake deal they do. They usually
yeah.
will attach trailers to movies. Yeah.
Now I hate Scumberto, right? Scumberto Gonzalez, don't really like him, but he is right here. So he says an insider with knowledge of the project, the film has been tested positively. It has, like I know that. So
Well, of course, Member buries the movie is going to test positively.
yeah. Oh,
I mean,
ridiculous.
you got Michael Keaton as Batman in it. What more do you fucking need?
It's bizarre, isn't it? So, who do you reckon would have made this decision? Do you reckon this would have been Gunn? I'm guessing. I mean, it would have had to have been now, wouldn't it?
To do the advertising part of it? Oh hell no, that's beyond him. That's
You
all in
think?
the. Oh yeah, that's in the.
But
The
he's DC Studios. Surely that's
yeah.
part of
But
it as
as
well.
far as like what they spend on P&A and all that shit,
Mhm.
that's where it'd be great to have like Valiant or something here because he'd tell you like that's almost a completely different department. Very rarely does a director or a creative producer have any real major control over what goes out other than, I mean, yeah, Kevin Feige used to, but in this case, this is the
Mm.
studio just trying to recoup what they can and move past it. I don't even think Gunn did anything to these movies, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think he,
Well, no, we
if
wouldn't have
any,
time. Wouldn't
well,
have
not
time to
just
do
that, it's
anything.
like, why? And the only other thing I don't understand is that people are saying that they're cutting out the cameos. Unless somebody has a basis for that, I say that
Mm.
they're just not in the latest screenings because they don't want, the goodies to get out. That's all.
Yeah,
And I
true.
mean, because at this point, these movies are basically the last hoorah for these stars. I mean, Henry
Yeah.
Cavill shot his stuff, Ben Affleck shot his stuff, Gal Gadot supposedly in the movie. So at this point, why not let Flash and Aquaman be the last two films that close the book
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
Snyderverse kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh God. Paulie, are you here still? Or have you disappeared? You disappeared.
Oh, I'm here.
What do you think?
Sorry, man, I don't have an opinion on
They might be
You're probably
trying to
listening.
advertise this like a Endgame kind of event, Nate. That could very well be. I mean, we don't even know how they're going to approach this
Yeah,
film yet.
true. You are right. You are right. What an absolute shit show
They
that
may
is.
even like advertise it that way, like this is the event of
Yeah.
the whole
Well,
DC universe.
so that actually takes us off conveniently into the next topic, which is advertisement, false advertisement, which studios
Yeah,
have
I
been
heard
doing
about
for
this.
ages. Well, they've been doing it for ages. There's so much crap in trailers.
Well, that's the thing. There was always a
Which is not in the
fine
film.
line. Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Okay, this is one of those gray areas because false advertising falls in the category of I'm telling you this product is something when it's not, right? You're being deceptive.
Yeah.
The thing with trailers is, and this was part of the reason why a couple years back here, there had always been this kind of rule in quotations between the theater owners and the studios of when they would start advertising a film and all that kind of stuff and how and with when the trailers would start dropping. But they never really followed it. But then they said, we're gonna have to start following this because there's so many movies coming out and people are getting
Yeah.
confused on both ends. So they started and said, okay, fine, we're going to start going by this stipulation. The basic outline of the stipulation is each studio would take two main tentpole movies a year that they would get to advertise more than 6 months out. Other than that, no movies were supposed to get any advertisements more than 4 months out. And this is what I was trying to tell people when they started freaking out recently about a lot of movies not getting trailers. And I'm like, look, this is what's going on. The studios are adhering to this because people are getting confused at when these movies are supposed to be out because they'll have a poster and a trailer for a year and the movie don't show up and they forget about it and stuff like that. And same thing, they're sick of, the theaters only have so much room to advertise shit. So it's kind of a,
Standard marketing window was
Yeah,
set.
it was kind of a standard marketing thing. Now, the other end of this, as far as like the stuff that gets in the trailers that doesn't wind up in the final film, look, there's always been this understanding between the advertisers, the market, the people watching the trailers. If your understanding of how a movie works, sometimes shit's going to happen in the final edit that sometimes stuff just doesn't end up in the final film. That's fair. But what we have now, and this is why I think this is becoming a deal.
Completely deceptive marketing.
We have where like a Marvel film is a great example of this, where they actually show you a completely different take of that scene and expressly leave things out and or put things in deceptively, as Nate's getting to mislead people. In one way, it's okay to tease people with a story and try to kind of, mess with it a little bit there. But what Marvel is doing, I agree, is kind of getting to that point where you're stepping over that line of, you're really trying to sell us a movie we're not getting, basically.
Same with DC as well.
To a point, yeah. But I'd say Marvel is probably the hugest example.
They're more adept at it of late. So what happened was, movie studios can now be sued under false advertising laws if they release deceptive movie trailers. A federal judge ruled on Tuesday. So US District Judge Stephen Wilson issued a ruling in a case involving Yesterday, the 2019 film about a world without the Beatles. So two Ana de Armas fans, I love the fact that it's just Ana de Armas fans that have created this situation, filed a lawsuit in January alleging that they had rented the movie after seeing Ana de Armas in the trailer, only to discover she was cut out of the final film.
Which is funny that I found it on.
Really?
Well, it is, but it isn't. At the same time, it depends on how when did they know she wasn't going to be in the final film and how early was the trailer? This is what I was talking about before. This one actually falls in that gray area. But now were they trying to sell the movie on her being in it? That's the question, I guess.
Well, this is the interesting thing, right? Is that Universal sought to throw out the lawsuit, arguing that movie trailers are entitled to broad protection under the First Amendment.
Wow.
The studio's lawyers argued that a trailer is an artistic, expressive work that tells a 3-minute story conveying the theme of the movie and should thus be considered non-commercial speech. It is literally a commercial.
They need to find a better way to argue this.
It is literally a commercial, because when it is shown before a movie in a theater, it has to be rated, and it literally says the following commercials are blah, blah, blah. It is literally a fucking commercial. It's an advert for the movie, because you follow on from a trailer by going, it's out on this day, please watch. It's not just like a standalone product. They literally tell you when the main product that they're advertising is available for your consumption. What?
Okay, yeah. See, here's the thing. They needed two different lawyers for this and me to help argue this case. Whoever this is needs to be fired. Because this is the dumbest fucking argument I've ever heard. Because I could argue this case very well, and you could get enough advertising people involved, and they would say, "Yeah, no, there's precedent for this." Is because it'd be like assuming you get the you draw it to a comparison to you would assuming you're getting the model that's showing the item too. That's pretty like you could get to that point. But as I said before, there's arguments to be made for movies are changing in motion as they go along. Unless the studio was deliberately saying she was in the film and advertising the film with her being in it, they could make an argument that the shit just happens to change. They are not obligated to go out and delete those trailers. If they didn't see the film until it was on video, there's enough information out there that is publicly available through IMDb and other things like that you could see that she could have been cut from that film. If you're that much of a fan of this person, another thing could be argued that you would think you would know this. And then the other side of it too is that, it's just like anything else, you can only do so much in a trailer unless you're doing something like Marvel is doing, where they're deliberately removing characters from shots and stuff like that, or promising something that isn't showing up, because otherwise you have to argue, look, not everything in a trailer is going to be in a movie, because some of the times these trailers don't show anything of the movie. A great example is Deadpool doing the old Alfred Hitchcock bit, right?
Yeah,
Where
but
he
there's
is literally just
yeah,
there selling you the movie. None of it's scenes from the film. It's him
but
doing a
that's
bit.
different. Yeah, but that's
Yeah, see,
different,
and
though,
that's
isn't it?
where I think these arguments need to be made, is that you're coming to a situation
Mm,
where they're more of an interpretive thing on the part of the person, as long as the studio is not selling you that this person's in this movie in every poster, on every single TV ad. You a trailer is going to change sometimes. You're just going to get that, I mean,
yeah. Well, so this is what happened. So Wilson rejected that argument, finding that a trailer is commercial speech and is subject to California false advertising law and the state's unfair competition law. Universal is correct that trailers involve some creativity and editorial discretion,
all right.
but this creativity does not outweigh the commercial nature of a trailer. At its core, a trailer is an advertisement designed to sell a movie by providing consumers with a preview of the movie. So, yeah, if you include a whole person that is no longer in that film, yeah, it's pretty fair justification to
Yeah,
sue. I
I
mean, it's false
mean,
advertising.
to a
In the,
point, yes and no. Like, that's the thing, is
yeah.
like, it should the studio have probably put out a press release that she was no longer in the film? Maybe it might have saved their ass in this case.
Hmm.
But see, that's the thing, is I'm surprised they won this case. This seems a little loose to me for American
Well, this is
law.
the interesting thing. So, in their briefing on the issue, Universal's lawyers argued that movie trailers have long included clips that do not appear in the finished film. They cited Jurassic Park, which had a trailer comprised entirely of footage that is not in the movie. Universal also argued that classifying trailers as commercial speech could open the door to a parade of lawsuits from dissatisfied filmgoers who could make a subjective claim that a film did not live up to the
This
expectations created by the trailer.
this is where
And
Universal
then,
has a good point there.
well, I said, but then to listen, so they say under plaintiff's reasoning, a trailer would be stripped of full First Amendment protection and subject to burdensome
But they go back to the First Amendment again.
litigation.
That's what I don't get.
And anytime a viewer claimed to be disappointed with whether and how much of any person or scene they saw in the trailer was in the final film, with whether the movie fit into the kind of genre they claimed to expect, or any of the unlimited number of disappointments a viewer could claim, the studio's lawyers argued. And that's a valid point. Wilson sought to address that concern by saying the false advertising law applies only when a significant portion of reasonable consumers could be misled. So, yeah, having a whole person in a trailer and then cutting them out of the entire film, I mean, that falls under that, to be fair.
It's happened many, 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 many times, though. In fact, I just watched a thing
Just
about.
pull the trailer. This is the thing, though.
Well, you could, but that's what I'm
You
saying.
know,
We live in the day and age of the internet, though, where that's not the case. You can't necessarily just pull a trailer, right?
well, you
Like,
can pull it from your official channels, which would cover you
you
legally.
could, and maybe they did, but it evidently didn't. That's my point here, and that's where I see Universal's point outside of this First Amendment thing. Whoever keeps bringing in this First Amendment thing, is they're stupid. They should have found
Universal's
something else to
lawyers.
use to argue it. Because again, you have a situation here where it's, unless they were deliberately using Anna de Armas to sell this movie specifically
Yeah.
throughout the entire campaign, I cannot believe these people won this case. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just kind of flabbergasted at this point. Now, if they were trying to sue over the Marvel movie or Spider-Man because it didn't show all the Spider-Man in the trailer in that one scene they were clearly in the final movie, like those kind of things I could see being a point.